Chris Peaks here with former Alabama Secretary of State John Merrill, who's now working for Wagner Engineering. His came up for an interview with me. John, is this your first post interview since leaving office?
Oh, no, no.
Okay.
A number of since January, not with the frequency that I was doing them before, but I've done several each month, and always look forward to the next one. So you're kind to reach out.
Well, I appreciate that. So, how are you? I mean, you look good.
Thank you so much. So we're doing great, and things continue to progress here at the company, and we continue to expand our footprint and our network throughout the state as we try to grow our business in Alabama.
So, how was it transitioning from being an elected official to what you're doing now? Was it hard? Was it?
Not really, Chris. And one of the main reasons for that is because I'm still traveling to as many counties as I possibly can. Since January the 1st, I've been to 44 counties for 312 unique visits to those 44 counties. So I'm still on track to do all 67 again by December 31st. That'll be the 11th year in a row. If things continue like they're going this year, I should be somewhere around 620 to 650 unique visits, which would be the most that I've ever done. But most of my visits now are related to my work, interacting with municipal officials, with county officials, with state officials, with utility directors or utility members all around the state to try to help them transform their community the way that they want to.
Okay. Okay. Because I was wondering how this, I mean, exactly what was going on there. So, John, you served a term in the House of Representatives as a Democrat. Did you, when you switched to the Republican Party, is that something that the Democratic Party left? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
As a Democrat. I ran as a Democrat in 2002 and had been a Democrat my whole life. Prior to that time, in 2004, I changed parties in March of 2004. And then since that time, have been an active member of the Republican Party. And I was elected as a member of the legislature in 2010 as a Republican representing House in eastern Tuscaloosa County.
Was that a thing that, like, how, we've seen so many Southerners that were Democrats, and the Democratic Party, basically the values left them?
Well, I didn't change my position or philosophy on any issue when I changed parties. I simply changed the brand that was next to my name because, unfortunately, it was very difficult to explain to someone why you were a conservative Democrat. And then when I started looking at the reasons that I had been a member of the Democratic Party growing up, it was clear that most of those were familial because my dad was a Democratic Party office holder at the local level, circuit clerk for 12 years, probate judge for 6 years, had a member of my family on the state Supreme Court for 24 years who served as a Democrat, a member who was lieutenant governor of Alabama and speaker of the House, and all those people served as Democrats, other members who legislature. So all the people that were in elected office at that time in our state, with a very few exception, were all Democrats. But when I evaluated my position, there was no reason to remain a member of the Democratic Party. And then a few years later, I decided to run for office again, and then was successful thanks to the people having confidence in me.
So when you was in the legislature, was there any bills that you would say that you co-authored or sponsored that would be your signature is your time in there?
Well, we did a number of pieces of legislation that we're very, very proud of. One of those was to reduce the start age for students from 7 years of age to 6 years of age for kindergarten, and enabling them to receive instruction at an earlier level. Number two would be making sure that the people that would like to make donations to the Alabama Volunteer Fire Department Association or the rescue squads would be able to do so on their tax forms. We added that for them to be able to do that. We restructured the Alabama Fire College. I was very, very proud of that legislation because it took it away from the community college system and made it an independent operation, which is what it should have been all along, for the training of firefighters as well as for the education, continuing education of existing firefighters, and that's professional and volunteer firefighters around the state. Passed legislation to ensure that all new creation of facilities on college campuses and at the high school, middle school, and elementary level would include safe rooms to protect students during times of inclement weather. So there's a number of things that we did. I passed 12 different pieces of legislation during my 4 years as a member of the Alabama House of Representatives, and very proud of those things that we were able to accomplish.
Now, when you were probably in my lifetime the most visible and proactive Secretary of State that we had. You was out in front of it on every election. What made you seek that office? Why did that seem so, over importance?
Well, Chris, I decided that I wanted to be Alabama Secretary of State when I was 14 years of age, and I started working toward that goal at that time. And when I was able to secure the nomination and then subsequent election, November 4th, 2014, we were able to hit the ground running because we already had a plan about the things we wanted to do, elections, but also in business and corporations, license and trademarking in the business services division, we were able to get a number of things done to reduce the wait time for people that were trying to start new businesses in our state. So there were a number of things that we were able to do immediately instead of having to wait and understand what was actually happening. We passed 9 pieces of legislation during the first year, a total of 50 plus pieces of legislation during my 8 years in the Alabama office of the Secretary of State. So it was a very, very productive time.
We have a lot of people questioning election security and fraud. The machines that we have, how secure are they? Can they be hacked?
No, they can't be hacked because they're not connected to the internet. But I will tell you this, one of the things I was most proud of when we left the position as being Alabama's 53rd Secretary of State was Alabama was recognized after the 2020 election, the one that was so controversial when President Trump was running for re-election and President Biden was running for his first term. We were recognized by the University of Southern California, by Concerned Women for Good Government in Washington, and by the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., as the #1 state in the union for election integrity, transparency, and accountability. No other state in the union can make that boast. And that happened because of the great work that was done by the people that worked in our office, all 34 of those individuals, as well as the 201 registrars in our 67 counties, our 68 probate judges in our 67 counties, our 68 circuit clerks in our 67 counties, and our 67 sheriffs. And when you have that kind of team working together, you can accomplish great things.
That is something to be proud of right there. I mean, that is a great. So the when you left the Secretary of State's office and this job you went into now, did you have any idea what you was getting into? Or
I started meeting with this team of folks in June of 2022, and subsequently, after our third meeting in September 2022, they offered me the position as Director of Public Policy and Strategic Market. And then I worked the rest of my term as the Secretary of State, finishing my second term January the 15th, 2023. January the 16th, I began the position as Director of Public Policy and Strategic Markets for Wagner Engineering. So we've been very, very proud of all the things we've been able to be a part of since we've been here.
So what makes John Merrill the man he is? Because you're not afraid. I mean, never met a stranger. I mean, you'll talk to anybody out there. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a retail politician as good as what you are.
Very kind to say that. I can tell you that in the history of this state, there have been several that I would say are better than me. But to be compared to some of those people really means a great deal to me. But only thing I can say is the way that I was raised and my parents bringing me up to respect each and every person, regardless of their potential station in life or what they currently were doing or what they hope to do in the future. Also, making sure that everybody knows that they are important as an individual, and to demonstrate that by the way that you interact with them and listening to people and then helping people meet their needs. Depending on what their personal situation is. And that's something we've been able to do successfully in all the jobs that I've had in my life.
Is John Merrill getting ready to run for governor?
Well, I don't know about that. I know a lot of people continue to ask me, well, what are you running for next? Or why are you still out working all across the state? And we see you and we know you run for something. What is it? Or we want to help you. Tell us what it is. We haven't made any kind of decisions like that. All we're trying to do is to do a good job with Wagner Engineering to help our company grow and to help transform communities in all 67 counties, all 464 municipalities, and continue to utilize the relationships that we've developed over the last 30 years to help us do that in those particular areas. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
So let me ask you a tough question, John.
Okay.
Is there any truth to that your company is buying land for the Chinese government and you're facilitating the sales for them?
Not that I'm aware of. I will tell you this now. I had meetings with the Chinese before. In 2015, I went to China for my first trip, May and June of 2015. Then I went back in 2019, in May of 2019. Both times I spent well more than a week while I was there. I have had visitors at the Alabama State Capitol from China on numerous occasions. I've had one visit from Chinese officials since I have been in my role here at Wagner. But the one thing that's always been consistent each and every time when I went to China, when I had my visits there, when I came back, I turned over all the things that I had collected, all the things that were given to me, and all of the equipment that I took with me to the FBI for their review and for their evaluation. And every time I have a visit with people from China, whether it would be as the secretary or now in the private sector, I always have a conversation with our friends at the Federal Bureau of Investigation to make sure that they know about my conversations, about the things that we discussed, and why it was so important. So we continue to do that, and we're open to meeting with any group that wants to meet with us because we're hospitality based, and I am, as you said earlier, somebody that people recognize as being a friendly face and somebody that likes to make people feel welcome. So I'm always going to do that.
How many countries have you got to visit while you've been in this new position?
Well, since I've been in the new position, I haven't been to any foreign countries. I can
Oh,
tell
okay.
that I'm going to be taking a vacation toward the end of this month, and I'm going to take my mom to Canada as a part of a trip that we're taking up to New England. But that's just a personal trip. Now, as far as my professional life is concerned, in the role of secretary or as a legislator or in other roles, I've been to Canada, I've been to Germany 3 times, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to China, I've been to Russia, I've been to Israel, I've been to Mexico. So I've been to all of those places, and those are my international experiences.
Now, I remember when I was in your office, you have quite a library of political books there. Is there one in particular that you took the most from, or somebody could take the most, learn from one of those books?
Well, I
Stands
have
out, John?
really mean a lot to me, Chris. You're kind of asked that. I have an extensive library, more than 1,500 books that I've collected over my life that are filed like a library system so I can gain access to them. But different books have touched me in different ways at different times in my life. I think one of the most meaningful books that I've ever read is Who Wants to Be a Champion by Pat Williams, which is a motivational book. And Pat is a good friend of mine. He actually founded the Orlando Magic and was the senior vice president of the Orlando Magic for many, many years. He's retired, but he's also a motivational speaker. But that's one of the books that has really meant the most to me. But there are other political books that I've also really enjoyed a lot. The Art of the Deal by President Trump is one that allowed me to learn a lot more about him, but also about listening to people and about trying to find a new way to solve problems. Senator McConnell's book, The Long Game, was also one that was very important to me because it helped me see him and understand him a little bit more clearly. Um, Mitch Daniels wrote a book when he was the governor of Indiana that was talking about listening to people and believing in people and uh, for the republic. And that, to me, is also a very meaningful book. So those are some key books that have really meant a lot to me over the years.
So your time in the public sector, is there anything that you took from that you're applying to this new job?
Well, it's funny that you asked the question. You asked it the way that you did, because the one thing that's been very clear to me is that in every role that I've ever had, I have always tried to invest myself fully in that particular position at that particular time. And whenever I left that role, I felt as though I was better prepared to enter the next role and to be able to be a better employee, a stronger servant, and a more meaningful friend. And able to do that by simply fully investing myself in each and every opportunity that presented itself to me. And so I think that I will continue to do that as I try to build my foundation so that it will last for the duration of my life, ever how long that will be.
So you look at maybe like it's turning a chapter, closing or going into a next chapter instead of closing a book, so to speak.
That's exactly right, because I hope my book's not closed till I leave these walks of life. And at that point, I hope that's a long time from now.
Yeah, 'cause you're still a pretty young man. I'm 58, 59.
59, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope I don't look 59, but
No,
that's
no, no. You do not look 59 at all. I hope I look as good as you do. I'm lucky enough to make it at that age. um, so is there anything that you want the people of the voters to remember about John Merrill?
well, I just want people to remember that we were always open, always interested, always listened, always tried to help, and always tried to help them make a difference in their lives whenever they called on us and needed support. I want people to remember that we dedicated ourselves to being strong public servants, and we tried to make sure that the office that we served in mirrored and reflected those qualities by all the team members that were there. And we want to be very efficient and effective in all that we're doing and all that we hope to do in the future. And so far, we've been able to do that in every role I've ever had.
Well, I was very appreciative of you and thought highly of you when I first contact I had with you, because when I first started doing this, nobody would talk to me at all, and then next thing I know, you gave me your cell phone and talking to me that afternoon, and I was very appreciative of that. Now I've got people who's actually talking to me and wanting to talk to me, so it's been a lot of fun doing this. But I will always be very thankful for your support or for helping me out starting off that way.
Chris, I appreciate that. And I always want to help you, and I always want to help everybody that reaches out, because there was a time in my life, and there still is in many ways, where I'm reaching out, or I reached out before, and I needed people to step up and help me so I could be more effective in my role. And I think that's very, very important.
Well, if you do make the announcement, can I have the first interview for the governor's race?
I would love to talk to you if we ever choose to pursue another public office, and to make sure that you know how much I appreciate you and the work that you do on behalf of the people of the state of Alabama.
Thanks a lot, John. I think that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks for having this opportunity, and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Chris. Take care.
Thanks. All right, buddy. All right. Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate that.
Got it, my friend. I appreciate you reaching out, and I hope that you can use that to help you do something.